National Assembly, governors, state assemblies, chairmen and council seats through public auction of a regime of non-refundable levies ranging between 1 million and 12 million naira, together with the unchecked campaign mega election expenses contained in section 91 of the Electoral Act 2010 as amended in 2011. Therefore, making good governance and accountability an illusion in Nigeria democracy. Distinguished citizens, the essence of this question is that Nigerians are crying that we have been burdened by corruption and lack of transparency in government. And every day we are praying and asking God to help us to fight this cankerworm of corruption. But it is important to remind you that we are all neck and deep in digging the foundation for continuous bad governance and corruption. Through our laws, through our acts, the regime that we run today is that you have to pay between 1 million and 12 million naira if you want to serve Nigeria or the community. This has exclusively removed leadership from good minds and put it to very corrupt people who are merchants of filth. I raise this question because it is pertinent that if our democracy will grow and be nurtured, we must tap from those who are willing to serve, and most of them may not have been people who have dipped their hand in our treasury. A man that seeks public office and paying a nomination fee for 12 million naira is corrupt. Period. I leave this question to the forum judge. But before I do that, let me remind you that the laws made by our National Assembly for the protection of corruption in democratic process is captured squarely in section 91 sub 1 sub 7 of the Electoral Act 2011. Remember, you cannot participate in democracy if you cannot read and write. You must have these laws. That is the only way you can interrogate your leaders. In that law, it is important that you look at, before we start the discussion, that for a person to be a presidential candidate, that the law provided by our National Assembly, those we have elected, say that a candidate at a presidential election shall spend 1 billion naira to run for office. 1 billion is 1 million times 1,000 million. That is what he will use to buy the office of the president, and you expect to have them deliver the goods. It says in an election where a governorship candidate bought nomination form with 12 million naira, he can spend 200 million in his campaign expenses. After that, you want good government and you want your children to be in school and everything will be working. And then he says that anybody who wants to be a candidate for senatorial or House of Representative can spend for the Senate 40 million. For the House of Assembly, for the National Assembly, or that is the House of Representative version, 20 million. And you're crying that we don't know the salaries of our legislators. We are the architects of our own problem. He went further under that same law, that is section 91 sub 5. It says if you want to run for State House of Assembly, you can spend 10 million naira. And then he said if you want to run for chairman, council election, you can spend 10 million. And now if you want to be a councillor in your small villages, you will spend 1 million naira. Distinguished citizens, let us all reflect that we are the architects of what we are seeing today in this country, and this is only the beginning. I say these things to agitate your mind so that you will look much deeper and know that we need to do more than we are doing. My position as the full advocate is not to give judgment. I will now call on the forum judge to tell us what the mind of a distinguished Nigerian is in this matter. But before I do that, I want to use an opportunity to call on the forum judge to make his opening sentence. After making his opening remark, and then I will read this question further, because this question is pregnant. Forum judge, the Reverend OBIOHA, I want you to tell them how you feel this morning before we go back to the question. With your respect, sir.
Thank you very much, my advocate. I welcome you, the listeners today, who are the jury in this epoch-making radio program. I invite you to come, partner with me to x-ray the issues that are in the front burner of our national existence as a people, and to be able to profile unbiased judgments in order to free humanity and bequeath our nation a true democracy, as advocated by Movers Nigeria through People's Court, and now solid 100.9 FM. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Distinguished citizens, the petition for the day. Let me now read it again before I now call on the forum judge to make his verdict. Having regards that Nigeria's biggest challenges are corruption, lack of transparency in leadership, and impunity, are you in support, or do you support what the political parties in Nigeria and the National Assembly are doing, digging and fertilizing corruption as a regime of our culture of living in this society? When they introduce this cash and carry auction, that if you want to serve your people, you go and buy a form, and they call it a domestic affair. There's nothing wrong with it. In Anambra State, they are selling governorship forms between 11 and 12 million naira to come and provide you succor, to give you leadership. What this thing translates to is that every man and woman of great intellect, every man or woman that can deliver, that can think, must first of all go and steal or get himself involved in corruption before he will seek office. And then a reflection. The laws governing our election, which we are saying let us go by rule of law, gave the president 1 billion to spend 1 billion in his election. Don't forget that the maximum contribution anybody can make in an election in Nigeria is 1 million per individual. And when you collect all these IOU, you want things to work. I leave it to the forum judge. Forum judge, sir, could you please tell the people how your mind is working?
Thank you again, my advocate. I will start by saying, cry the beloved country. I weep for Nigeria because many hawks have joined the ring. Nigeria is sold and bought by the highest bidder. Corruption is now being celebrated and national awards awarded her. The other day, after a dialogue with ASU in the lingering ASU strike, the economic minister, Dr. Mrs. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, had the temerity in her economic and financial prowess, declared to us that there is, quote, no money to meet ASU's demands. She advanced that the nation's economy cannot accommodate the demands of the lecturers for now. She disappointedly and regrettably referred the salaries and wages of the lecturers that teach our students the future wealth, intellectual property, and capital development of our dear nation as a current expenditure. Where is the Shopee force they are making us as a result of the so-called petroleum subsidy. What are the sectors that should be urgently and adequately developed first, according to her, in exchange for our educational sector, which should be declared a state of emergency now? I'm glad that ASU, the students and other labor unions, the parents, have heeded the call of our People's Court in our last 3 editions and have peacefully taken to the streets to protest this lackluster attitude of government. If you check the billions they spend, they budget and spend in between Enugu-Onitsha Road and Enugu-Port Harcourt Road, it is marveling to know that they are running to billions, and yet they say they don't have up to 92 billion, just 92 billion to spend on ASU to make our educational sector healthy. The design of the National Assembly and the political parties in government are to perpetually subjugate and exclude honest working Nigerians, youths, bright young men and women from leadership positions through the enactment of this obnoxious Electoral Act 2010 as amended in 2011, Section 91, subsection 1 to 9. Many said we elected them, and yet we do not see them after the so-called election until the next 4 years, when they will come to us again to do the American wonder and claim that their so-called mandate. Many of them never had more than one car before they got into the National Assembly. And today, the kind of wealth these representatives of the people have amassed within the shortest period of their stint in the National Assembly is mind-blowing. The solution I want to profile to this quagmire is this. I call on the PDP-led government, who Dr. Mrs. Okonjo-Iweala, the Minister of Finance, is in the employ, to call ASU and the people of Nigeria to call in another party into government, since they have failed. They have woefully failed. The immediate revisiting of the Electoral Act 2010 as amended in 2011. Thank God for the 87 pages judgment of Justice Kolawole of the Federal High Court, Abuja, correcting the registration of political parties by INEC. In real democracy, not pseudo, political space should be open and freedom of people to move into and come out of them guaranteed. The legislative business, national and state assemblies in the country should be made less attractive by making their attendance part-time. I advocate for whether sovereign or not, as they argue that they are representing us, a national conference convoked for the national question to be discussed and addressed, and a truly people's constitution bequeathed to Nigeria. The labor unions, students, youths, young men and women of goodwill should be highly sensitized and mobilized to lay siege at the National Assembly and make them reverse these draconian acts that impede our progress to attaining our full democratic potential as a nation before 2015. If these steps are not urgently attended to, my submission here today is that there is no road to Damascus yet. After all, with all these self-conceited, self-aggrandizing, and insatiable spirit in man, you will only sleep at one corner of your bed, one room and one house at a time. The Bible says, what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his soul in hell? Death is inevitable. I wish Nigeria well. Thank you very much.
That is the forum, George. I now call on the presenter to call in the jury. All right, Peter touched there. I need equal right and justice. We all do, and but we're not going to get it. It's not going to be a gift someone is going to give us on our birthdays. It's something we have to all stand up. Okay, nobody's going to give it to you. You have to take it all by yourself. Okay, we're moving away right now from that, and we're going into the case proper.
And I want to hand over to Mr. Ifeanyi Okonkwo, who is the initiator and promoter of Movement of Voice for Democracy Movers Nigeria.
Fellow citizens, the People's Court hearing will now commence. We have one case in the court list this morning. The case is between Sir D.E. ODIBO, claimant, and he is complaining against Public Complaints Commission as defendant. In this case, the defendant, Public Complaints Commission, Enugu, was duly served with the complaint or petition of Sir D.E. ODIBO, and it was received on Monday, 22nd day of July 2013. These are the facts of the complaint. My name is Sir D.E. ODIBO. I live at number 5 Uli Street, Onwasata, Enugu. On 2nd day of April 2006, I made protest of my compulsory retirement by PRODA to the Public Complaints Commission Enugu office. After more than 2 years break, I received a letter from Public Complaints Commission signed by ID Elumujeze Mrs. dated 25th day of September 2005, that is 2 years after, which was served on me from Enugu Division on 7 February 2006. The allegation from the headquarters of Public Complaints Commission now complicated the reply PRODA sent to the Enugu Division during their investigation that my complaint should be regarded as being statute barred, and that all those retired with me are not complaining. These letters were annexed as annexures to this complaint. The commission head office, that is the Public Complaints Commission, investigated me, never investigated me, nor even invited me to hear my own side of the allegation of missing slide projector before stopping the investigation of my protest. This is against natural justice of fair hearing and denial of human rights and justice. I wrote several letters to the commission, which was never replied, and he gave us copies of those letters. This petition was complaining about the insensitivity of the Public Complaints Commission as a public institution, and the citizens have a right to complain. If you have gone to this commission and you are treated shabbily or they don't respond, where else do you go? Sir ODIBO came to the People's Court, and this is what he wants the People's Court to do for him in this claim. They failed in their statutory obligation of their administrative function over my protest to them. The action made me lose hope in true justice and caused me psychological, physical trauma, coupled with financial embarrassment since 2001. The Public Complaints Commission should pay damages of 20 million for their negligence, maladministration, and unjustifiable stoppage of their investigation about my protest. We dutifully, in conformance with the provisions of the law of fair hearing, which ODIBO is complaining about, brought this to the attention of the Public Complaints Commission Enugu. They decided to write us a letter, and this is what they wrote. This letter was authored by one Toby Nadi, and they said, on the summoning ability of Public Complaints Commission. That is what they captioned their letter. Your claimant summons to this commission reference so and so, and he refers, you may wish to know that Public Complaints Commission is a quasi-judicial institution, body of the federal government of Nigeria, established by the Act of the National Assembly, that is Public Complaints Commission Act Cap P 37, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enshrined in the 1999 Constitution as amended, with wide powers to inquire into complaints by members of the public concerning the administrative action of any public authority and companies or their officials and other matters ancillary thereto. And in the discharge of this function under the Act, the Honorable Commissioner is precluded from any legal prosecution in any court of law in Nigeria as specifically provided for under Section 10 sub 1 of the Act, which read thus: no commissioner shall be liable to be sued in any court of law for any act done or omitted to be done in due exercise of his duties under or pursuant of this Act, unquote. It therefore follows that if the Honorable Commissioner cannot be sued in any court of law in Nigeria in respect of any act done or omitted to be done in the discharge of his duty, invariably he also cannot be summoned by any court in Nigeria, including and not limited to your so-called People's Court, which, by the way, is not clothed with any legal or statutory flavor. In view of the above, therefore, the Honorable Commissioner hopes that this explanation will finally dispel whatever misconception you might have entertained concerning the Commission, unquote. Distinguished brethren, this is where the servant has become the master. The Public Complaints Commission, the man that authored this letter, is telling us that we cannot complain. They can commit blue murder and go away because they are Public Complaint Commissioner and they get their salary from Abuja. We have no reason to complain. We have passed this letter to ODIBO and told him that the fight have just begun. This man ought to be relieved of his position because he's not a citizen of Nigeria. If he's a citizen, he's bound by the Constitution. All he needed to do was to explain his position and not to tell us that he has immunity. My responsibility is not to give a verdict. I will now send this petition to the forum judge after he has delivered his verdict, and then we'll call in the jury. Forum judge, sir.
Thank you very much, my advocate. Mr. Toby Nadi is very rude and proud. I'm sure he does not know he's a public officer. You call the People's Court so-called a forum initiated and promoted by a man of resume, intelligence and pedigree in the person of Chief Ifeanyi Okonkwo, and has contributors in the presence of the only radio senator Ben Motoanya in Nigeria, and Barrister Dr. Okafor, and other notable Nigerians as contributors, and commended by all and sundry. Sorry, I say another capital sorry to you. Tomorrow you will be out of job, either treated like Sir ODIBO, or you are retired and you have an unjustified treatment by anybody, and you look for a forum like your so-called People's Court for a remedy. But assuming without conceding that your commissioner cannot be sued in his personal or official capacity, this is why this forum is in existence, to x-ray your organization's personal intransigence. I am one of the people in Nigeria today that have concluded that your organization and that of the Nigerian Human Rights Commission are toothless bulldogs. Your organizations of quasi-judicial institution and body of the federal government of Nigeria, established by the Act of the National Assembly, with powers to inquire into complaints by members of the public and or human rights abuses. But the operators are very insensitive, bureaucratic, ineptitude, and inefficient. I am a victim. I advocate that these two institutions should be scrapped, merged, or go into oblivion. Your existence for the purposes why you were created by the Act of National Assembly poses more questions by your attitude and approach and your statement than answers in our democratic experimentation. You should be scrapped. Thank you.
That is the verdict of the forum judge. I now call on the presenter to Honorable Colin the jury.
Okay.
Thank you very much for this opportunity again. I want to sincerely commend all the contributors to today's topic, both during the time of the petition, public petition, and the case that we entertained today. It's been quite commendable, and I can see that this program is really positively progressing. The highlights of what we have said today by the contributors is that there is a call for the finance minister to resign, and also there should be need for a state of emergency declared in the educational sector. Also, while we are summarizing that, there will be an opportunity for political or judicial activism, and which movers have also made it available today, made it clear that there is a provision made now for human rights lawyers to put themselves together, come to our office, to the office of movers, and identify, so that this process can be taken headlong both to the National Assembly, and also as the program is reaching to its crescendo, there will be a kind of network. With time, we believe that this million march should be done. It has to be very well sensitized, mobilized, and organized. These things have to be stopped. Corruption is so endemic, it's monumental. Everybody agrees to that. And then to the judgments, highlights of the judgment to the case. Well, we are saying that this ODIBO, Mr. ODIBO, can go to Savicom and report to the Naji. The summary of the whole thing is that they are just not doing anything in the Enugu office of Public Complaints Commission. And the movers have assured us, the advocate, that the petition is going to be sent to Abuja. We have a consolation from that. But again, we know that the result of it is that these people will be removed from the office here. Well, we say that they shouldn't be scrapped. Let them be there. The realization is that the institutions are weak. We should bring strength individuals to be in there. The only problem we have here is that we really looked into that. The people who are also appointing them are these people who pay 11-12 million to get into office, and so they are going to appoint the likes. And so we believe that by the time there is a total overhaul and a total restructuring of the polity, yes, people will come in. People with strong characters will come in and man these offices, including the human rights and other agencies of government. Well, the summary is that you can't call a forum like this with all the retinue of individuals and personalities like me and myself. I mean, somebody like Revenobia calling an organization I belong a so-called. The thing is that there's nothing like so-called. People's call is not so-called. And we demand an apology from Tony Nadi, or else we are sure he won't be there, hopefully before December, so that he can come in and be baptized to know how to use his words. Thank you very much.
With the greatest respect to the forum judge, thank you so much. And now it's time to announce the winner for active participation. It hasn't been easy to select a winner in this participation, but the nomination I've just received is that the radio goes to our distinguished radio commentator Ben Ilechukwu for active participation. So I think he has been able to maneuver and make sure that his voice is heard today. Congratulations to you, Ben. You have won a radio. You can always come to our office on Monday or send somebody with a letter to come and collect it on your behalf. It has been a great pleasure today in this public session of our People's Court. This court shall now rise.